To remain updated with the latest business news, click on the bell icon.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Today. I'm Sakshi Batra. Well, the worsening Ukraine-Russia situation has got the world worried as it has wider security and also economic implications for several countries, including India. To discuss what does the Ukraine-Russia crisis really mean for India's trade, I have with me a very special guest joining in. Dr. Ajay Sahai, Director General and CEO at FIEO, joins right in. Dr. Sahai, welcome and thank you so much for taking out time for Business Today. Let me kickstart by asking you, how are you really assessing the impact of the Russia-Ukraine crisis on global trade? Where all are we already beginning to see an impact?
In fact, as of now, we are definitely watching the situation. And the fact is that this kind of incidence has been a setback for the global economy and the global trade. And it has come at a very wrong time when we are just coming out of the COVID-19. But I think to assess the situation, we have to see what exactly are the details of the sanctions, which has been imposed by US and UK and EU are in the pipeline. There may be few other countries who may be also imposing the sanctions. And once the exact nature of the sanction is known to us, we will be in much better position to assess how it's going to impact India's trade. We all know that our trade with Russia is close to the tune of $12 billion in the last fiscal year. And with the Ukraine, it's around $2.6 billion. Okay. So, of course, I'm not much worried about the impact on India's trade with those countries. There are bigger significance of these kinds of conflict, and we have seen its impact on the oil prices already, which has crossed $100 a barrel. The shipping freight charges, which were already very high, they are looking to move further northward because insurance rates for the entire voyage has also increased, and so has been the oil prices and the fuel costs. So these are having much bigger concern for all the countries, including India.
Absolutely. We are also hearing, Dr. Sai, that countries, especially France, is making statements of removing Russia from SWIFT. Now, what kind of implication could it have on the payments part when it comes to our own shipments, which are either already en route to Russia or from Russia to India or from Russia to Ukraine and vis-a-vis with us as well, as Britain now wants to cut off Russia from SWIFT also? How will it really impact the payments?
Generally, whenever these kinds of sanctions are imposed, there is a wind down period which is available, and therefore all the transaction which happens during the wind down period, they are not impacted by the sanction. That's why I'm saying that let us look into what kinds of sanctions and whether there is a wind down period or not. But the fact of the matter is that the restriction is brought on the SWIFT, and that too by US and EU. Trading in euro or dollar will be a prohibited thing. And that's why it will not only affect our export to Russia, it will have much bigger significance for the entire world. To a large extent, it will affect the Russia also. And I think that's why I'm saying that at this point of time, we are just looking into the details of these kinds of sanctions. And once the details are known to us, we will be evaluating, and then we will be in much better position to judge where we stand and what will be its implication for a country like India.
Okay. Dr. Sahai, could you also help us understand, if you have been able to assess so far, the quantum of receivables stuck right now, which are en route, so that we can assess the impact if there were, and if the sanctions go through and, you are able to assess the impact, what is the amount of, or the quantum of receivables stuck right now?
No, I think generally a lot of export to Russia happens on advance payment. Some of that goes against the LC. So, and we have never seen any problem in payment from Russia in the past also.
Right.
Some of the transactions happens in other than US dollar also, they are other than in euro also. So we may not have see impact much on that. So I think since our export to Russia is in $2.6 billion, if we are talking about whatever has been exported in last 2 to 3 months, the amount will not exceed $300 to $400 million. And I don't think Russia will be in a such situation where getting this amount is a problem. So our problem with Russia is not to a large extent about the payment. Payment will definitely come with Russia, and we have a lot of other strategic relations with Russia. So that is not a concern for India at this point of time.
Okay. Which are the main areas and the sectors in which we trade with both Russia and Ukraine, which is a matter of concern right now in both terms,
No, in
imports
fact,
and exports?
if you are looking into India's export to both Russia and Ukraine is dominated by pharmaceutical, machinery, electrical and electronics component. We are also exporting little bit of plastic, rubber, ceramics products, apparel also to these markets. So far imports are concerned with Russia, we know that a lot of petroleum and gas products are being imported with both the countries. Fertilizer is one of the major item of imports, and with Ukraine, we are importing sunflower oil also. So these are the basic profile of India's imports. I personally don't feel that in a short term it will have any impact on the prices, but all depends how long the war continues,
Yes.
and if we can get a solution to that very quickly, that will be good for the entire world.
Right. And what about defense imports from Russia, sir? Since it is the largest supplier right now, how bad a hit can we feel if the sanctions from US and other countries go?
I think that's why I'm saying that let us not judge at this point of time. Let us look into what kind of restriction is being brought about. What is
Yeah.
the stand which, because India has good relation with both the countries, and I'm pretty sure the government will take a very balanced view in this regard.
Right. Now, you also said that, we'll have to assess the situation as to how long this war really continues. So help me understand, how will this impact trade for the long duration? Say, for example, how long will we be able to bear the impact, and beyond what will it get absolutely critical for everyone to take some major steps to counter it?
Generally, when you are exporting, other country used to have 2 to 3 months inventory of the product. So it depends from product to product, but generally, if the impact of the war is not long, I don't foresee much problem in exports or import, though of course the disruption will happen, and then whenever you are having any setback, bringing it on track takes a longer time. So even a setback of 2 months may take 4 or 6 months to bring it on track. So that kind
Right.
of problem we have to live with.
Yes. And I also wanted to take that point forward that you were making in one of your answers initially, on the fact that, we've already seen three crucial waves of COVID pandemic hit the country already, and exporters and importers have felt the heat of the same as well. Just as we were coming out, this has been another big challenge that has hit us. So, how do you assess the impact, just when the sectors were reviving, only at that crucial point we've seen this challenge hitting us?
No, I'm not confining my observation with regard to India, because so far India is concerned, the restriction which may be brought on these countries, or Russia may open market for India and also in some of the countries, and that will be true for other countries also. I'm worried because UNCTAD has recently forecasted that the global trade in the first quarter is expected to slow down, and these kinds of development will definitely have an adverse bearing on the global trade. And unless the global trade expands, it becomes difficult for countries to expand. Though, of course, India is an exception because we still have around 1.75% share in the global trade. So these kinds of development in the contraction of the global trade may not impact India as such, but it will have a bearing on the globe, other economies as well.
Right. So, what are you advising Indian exporters to do in the current situation, since we are still in a wait and watch situation, and we are watching very, very clearly as to how the sanctions are coming into place and what kind of restrictions? So, how are you advising Indian exporters to see the situation?
At this point of time, we are advising them to wait, and if they have some shipment, if they can hold back the shipments, better, because if they ship the goods and the different kind of sanctions come where the payment becomes a problem for them, it will create a problem. So if they have an elbow room in making the shipment, we are advising them to hold the shipment. I'm pretty sure that very soon government will take a call and also guide us, and based on the guidance given by the government, we'll move forward.
Right. One more point which I forgot to ask you earlier, since you had mentioned that because of the crude oil prices rising and because of the insurance costs also going up, the costs are elevating. Could you help us understand what is the difference in the quantum that you're seeing there?
No, in fact, the point is that if the ship has to enter into the Baltic or the Black Sea, the underwriters are asking for a very high premium of insurance. And once the premium of insurance goes up substantially, because they undertake a risk, if the ship is hit, then the entire cost of the ship has to be more than insurance company.
Hmm.
Once the insurance premium goes up, after all, it has to be passed on to the consumer. And since the fuel cost is also going up, the freight is bound to definitely increase. And point is that the uncertainty itself is a big setback to the trade. And this has resulted in a lot of uncertainties.
Absolutely. Uncertainty as the big challenge emerging right now. Thank you so much, Dr. Sahai, for sharing with us all your thoughts on how do we assess the current impact of the Ukraine-Russia war on global trade right now. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.